The legendary Ford 427 side oiler was only available in one passenger car in 1968, and we've got one of the cleanest. This week, we're bringing you something that I like to call a luxury muscle car. It's a 1968 Mercury Cougar, which was a pretty popular car. They made a sport version called the XR7, but this one is even more unique because this is called the GT-E, and some of them were XR7s and GT-Es. This one is a GT-E alone, and the GT-E, the biggest part about it was that it came with a 7-liter engine, and it could have been a 428 or a 427 side oiler. This particular one is a GT-E 427 side oiler car. We think because of the fact that it's a GT-E and not an XR7, it's one of 101 ever made, and it's only got 36,000 miles on it, and it is a very stunning combination of red exterior, red interior, and it's got a cool story on how it came to be. Most people looked at the XR7 as the flashy version of the Cougar. It was a high-performance car based off the Mustang platform, but more refined, a little bit more quiet. You could get them with actual leather interior. They had more options inside, so it was kind of a, an executive muscle car. But the GT-E package was a little more basic than the XR7. So if there was kind of a sleeper version of the high-performance Cougar, it'd be the GT-E. This one has the 390 horsepower 427. This is the same 427 side oiler motor that had its lineage going back through the 427 Cobras, the R-Code cars. This one isn't quite as radical. It's got a single 4-barrel on it, and it's the W-Code motor, which means it was rated at 390 horsepower. Some people think they made more than that. This one, the way it starts and rumbles and drives, is making at least that much power the way we look at it. Most of the exterior on the GT-E doesn't look very racy, except for the hood scoop, which is kind of unique to this car. When you open the hood, this is where it all changes. 427 high performance W-Code side oiler cross bolted V8 engine. This one is rated at 390 horsepower, but it's a very close cousin to the R-Code 427 found in the Mustangs and the Galaxies and the other stuff. This is an engine that really makes this car a wolf in sheep's clothing. So the GT-E package was available on a base Cougar or the XR7, and it brought the engine up to the 7-liter, either a 427 or a 428. Of course, this one has the 427. There were other elements of the GT-E package, including the Select Shift Mercury automatic transmission, a super competition handling package. The GT-E got you radial tires, and we take that for granted today. Every car's got radial tires, but back in the late 60s, most new cars came with bias ply tires, and this was one of the first to offer radial tires from the factory. They ran on an FR70 size. It was a 14-inch wheel with a white sidewall or a red striped tire. The GT-E had power disc brakes in front and drum brakes in the back, power steering. It had a different engine fan to keep that 7-liter cool. The exhaust on the car had special tips, which Mercury called the quad exhaust pipe outlets. That was unique to the GT-E. They had the style steel wheels. The grille was different on a GT-E. Normal Cougars and XR7s had vertical plated slats in that grille. The GT-E, those are all blacked out, but instead it had an aluminum horizontal accent running right through the grille. The hood was part of the Ford Power Dome series of hoods that had a simulated scoop on it. And initially, if you ever get to see these, the 427 and 428s had different hoods. So this one has the correct 427 Power Dome hood on it. The car came with two-tone paint. There's a molding just below the belt, kind of around the lower third of the car, and your two-tone options would break at that point. This one is red, and the bottom part is silver. And then they dressed up the motor so that when you open the hood, you got to take a look at the chrome rocker covers, a chrome oil filler cap, the dipstick, the radiator cap, and the air cleaner housing. So those were all fancied up because if you had a 427 under the hood, you'd be showing it to your friends quite often. So one of the things we like most about this car is that it is a base model GTE. It's not an XR7, and they made 101 of them. And the story is that this car was special ordered by a Mercury dealer in December of 1967 by a guy named George Alto. And he owned a Mercury dealer down in Florida. And he used to be a guy who liked to have high performance Mercury, so he would order himself a special car every year, not only to have in the dealer showroom to draw people in, but he also liked driving fast cars, so he bought this one. And it was ordered in December. It showed up at his dealer in March of 1968, and he had it for a year. This car didn't get sold to the general public until about 16 months after it was originally ordered. And that's pretty different. I mean, there were some cars that, you know, they had colors that weren't very desirable, or, you know, options that would sit there and die on the showroom floor, but not this one. You know, a GT-E Cougar looks stunning. It's got a great color scheme with the red and red, and of course the 427. I mean, who wouldn't want this car? So I think, you know, maybe he didn't really want to sell it that hard. The other thing is, it probably wasn't a cheap car. These things sold for, you know, around 4,500 bucks when they were new. So they cost more than some of the lower buck muscle cars that actually outperformed them. These GTEs were, you know, 14-second cars in the quarter mile. So they weren't the fastest car around. But if you wanted something luxurious that would still turn a number, this was the car you got. So we've shown at least one other Cougar from the Brothers collection in the past, and people responded real favorably to that car because it was pretty neat, and we think a lot of people will like this one also. It's one of those cars where if you're not really aware of the lineage, you learn a lot seeing something different, and this car is definitely different. So, what do you think of the upscale hot rod? Let us know in the comments, either on the Facebook page or on YouTube, and you can see more pictures at Muscle Car of the Week. We'll see you next time.